All right. Now I want to get this to everybody, and I want y'all to listen to me. If you're from Richmond, or if you're from any metropolitan area, and the area is starting to boom, I really want you to listen to me because this is real estate and construction is what I do. You know, and so often when I'm selling homes close to the projects or whatever, or in bad areas, people say, "Well, that area is bad. It's only bad because of the projects." Like in other cities like Atlanta, where you get a metropolitan area where you got houses everywhere, and you have houses that are, like the projects. It's low income housing, and it's just like the projects. It's just not the projects. But in Richmond, most of the crime happens around the projects. They just found two guys dead in Creighton Court when Blackwell was up, and Richmond had its most violent year to date. Post slavery, 1994. It was like 140, 150 some murders. Well, now Richmond only has 40 or 50, maybe 60 murders a year. And that was just 20 years ago. So you say, well, 23 years ago. Well, how did the murders come down? 100 murders a year. What they did was they eradicated the projects. And the first trial of this implementation was Blackwell, and then it was Dove Court. And if you ride through Blackwell now, you see they still have some housing, but it doesn't look like the projects. You ride through Dove Court, they still have housing, but it doesn't look like the projects. And crime has dropped dramatically. So that automatically, instinctively says, you know what? We need to get rid of all the projects. And the people in the project, well, where we gonna go? They don't give a fuck. People are tired of people getting killed. And see, here's what niggas don't understand. When you have a lot of violence like that, shootings and robberies and shit like that, that's going to detract people from buying homes, people from upgrading property, definitely going to detract investors. If you think I'm lying, do this. Right there where Hillside Court is, right there on the corner of Hopkins and Jeff Davis, I was trying to sell that building for $6 million. The Model Tobacco building. That building is being sold for $6 million. It's not even a quarter mile from the projects. Okay, the building has been empty for years, maybe even decades. I mean, it has small businesses in there, but it hasn't been fully operational in years, decades. You ride not even a block down. Mr. Keck owns all that shit. All of those buildings on Jeff Davis are being renovated now to condos and lofts. Now, ask yourself, do you think somebody would pay $1 million for a loft when the store that he has to use, that 7-Eleven and that gas station right there, he has to use those same stores. Do you think he wants to use those stores with niggas who out here robbing and killing? And the answer is no. So what are they going to do? They're going to get rid of the project. I just sold a house on what street that was? 1511 Drury Street. 1511 Drury. I just sold that. 1511 Drury and 1419 Overlook. The projects are coming down. And then look at how big and massive the projects are. Like Jackson Ward. Look at all that money in Jackson Ward. The St. Jude building right there in Jackson Ward. They put millions into that building. Why do you think? And it's right in Jackson Ward. Why do you think they're doing that? In the next 2 years, all that shit coming down. In the next 5 years, all the projects going to be going to Richmond. And if you think about it, look at the location of every project. Every project in Richmond is within a quarter mile of a highway. That's prime real estate. I mean, Jackson Ward got 800 units. Do you know what developers would do with Jackson Ward? I don't know how many acres it is, but do you know what they would do with it? They would have buildings with pools on the top. They would have shops out there where you can come pull up, get your coffee, and kids, all them big schools and stuff are going to be model schools. See, when you look at it for what it is, you say, man, this shit is worthless. But when you look at it for what it can be, you say this shit is priceless. And look at Richmond. When Richmond had its most violent year in 1994, it had 150, 140 murders. The city was 65% black. Richmond, I think, had 40, 50 murders this year. The city is 51% white. There's a connection in numbers. If you reduce the niggas and you reduce the projects, you reduce the crime. And now that all that shit started going down, the murders and all that shit, guess what happened? Amazon wants the headquarter here. Westvaco is here. Bank of America. See, that shit brings money. That shit brings interest. That shit increases the value of life, increases income, increases self-awareness. And you look at where it used to be Blackwell. They call it Manchester now. They have all kinds of festivals, and none of that shit happens in nigga neighborhoods. None of that shit happens in the projects. And people are eradicating that stuff. You don't have to believe me. Keep watching the numbers. People say, well, white people coming back to the city. White people have always been in the city. You want me to tell you why? Because even if a white man doesn't live in your house, if you have a loan through the bank, right, and the white man holds the note to that loan on the bank, until you pay him all of his money, that's his house. White people have always been in the city. A lot of these houses that black folk live in the inner city were owned by white people, and they just was on some kind of Section 8 or some kind of program like that. White people have always owned. 8% of the U.S. population owns 90% of the real estate. But for the black people who did own homes, because all of those, Highland Park, North Side, all of that land and all of those houses used to be owned by white people anyway. They moved out because all the bullshit came in. Now they coming back. That's why those houses are so big, Victorian, and all those different styles of homes with, French doors. Niggas ain't do that. White people did this shit. But white people left because niggas came in. Now they coming back to claim what they had owned at first. You know what I'm saying? And it's, niggas just don't get it. Now, all the white people come back. Bruh, listen to me. In 20 years, black people have dropped 20% in the city of Richmond. Regardless of whether the numbers, if black people were 65% and now they 49, that's what? That's 16% in 20 years. And they only knocked down 2 project complexes. They knocked down the other 2, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. Black people going to be 15, 10%. And another thing is this, blacks are doing the worst because they ain't sticking together. We are killing each other, robbing each other, doing this. The Asians are building businesses, buying real estate. The Indians own all the hotels. The Middle Easterns are coming, the Pakistanis and all. They own all the corner stores. And niggas don't do nothing but spend their money with everybody else. And they overlook and degrade their own people. And for this reason, it's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen all over America. But right here in Richmond, where I'm from, in the next 10 years, where black people will only be 10% Richmond, Virginia population. And they're going to do it by eradicating it. They don't need niggas no more. For what? You got Spanish. You got the Indian. You got people that want to come to work. You got people that want to come and build businesses. And see, another thing is the mindset. A nigga will tell you go out here and get a job, but ride down the street and film any street in America. All the businesses you're going to see are going to be small business. The American economy is built off of 80% of the American economy is small business. 80%. Only 20% of the U.S. population work for the government. The working population anyway. But you can't tell a nigga that. Nigga wants you to go get a job. So if you actually go out here and get a job, you getting a job for somebody that runs or owns a small business. Amazon is a small business. I mean, it's a giant corporation now, but it was a small business. Microsoft, DuPont, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, all of those are small businesses, man. But you cannot tell ignorant niggas that. And for that simple fact, a nigga that's so ignorant don't understand entrepreneurship, he doomed because that's the way everything is run now. It ain't really no mom and pop shit. If you ain't on the internet and you ain't popping, bro, you ain't finna get no goddamn money. I'm telling you. And I told everybody this shit in 08 and 09, but you can't tell it to niggas who know everything. They know everything without knowing nothing. Because one thing a nigga don't do is seek professional advice. He thinks that he knows everything, especially if he got $1 or $2. And for this reason, the young kids that's coming out, like my nephews and all them, man, they're going to be real fucked up. Because if don't nobody get them no money, they damn sure don't know how to get none. And shit ain't about to get real, shit real. Richmond won't have too many more black people in the next 10 years. At the rate of killing, and then as far, it's over. And then especially because the cost of living going so high. Well, you can't work at McDonald's and live in Richmond no more. If ain't nobody, and these niggas don't know how to get out here and hustle, it's over for the black man in Richmond. And it's sad because teamwork makes dreams work. All them other people that's working together, the Indians, the Asians, the Nigerians, the Africans, they all getting paper. Man, you know who's struggling? The nigga. I remember people used to laugh at the Mexicans. The Mexicans doing it. The nigga is the new Mexicans. It's Mexicans out here that hire niggas. Understand that.